The following is an RC Underground radio production.
Welcome to RC Underground Radio with your hosts, David Brinkman and Ryan Ratzloff. Let's join the show. So, Ryan, we talked earlier that we were going to have a new segment. So we're actually going to talk about that a little bit.
Let's do it.
Yeah. So, the RC Underground, sure, it's the track, and we say it's because it's in the basement, right? But it's also kind of a metaphor.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess you could take it that way.
So stick with me on this because I'm going to get deep.
Okay. Okay, Dave. I don't know if I'm going to be able to sleep tonight, but let's just roll with it. Let's get deep. Good.
I don't know what happened there.
That was.
I'm a little lightheaded. I don't know. No. When it's the RC Underground, that means you can kind of dig below the surface.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's a lot to talk about our little racetrack downstairs in the basement. But there's a whole world out there of RC racing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if that's not in our basement, I thought we'd call the segment Above Ground.
Oh, that's a great segment because I try and live my life above ground. So let's get into it. So we're going to talk about what's outside of
Outside
the RC
walls.
Underground, right? What's above ground, I guess, if you literally
what's above ground
right?
and what's out in the sunshine, right?
Yeah.
Right. So the idea of that is just there's a lot going on. And I don't know how far out into the wilderness or the woods we'll get with RC racing as a whole, but just inside the one RC racing world. Is it crazy or what?
It's everywhere. I mean, again, you're taking a $200 car, you throw it down on some carpet or some foam, and away you go. So imagine all these tracks that pop up. I mean, shoot, in Wisconsin here, I know of 5 off the top of my head that I could rattle off.
Yeah, exactly. And then you go to the One RC website, which I think motivate everybody to do. It's onercracing.com.
Yep.
Learn about these cars. I mean, it's phenomenal. I believe these cars are all over the world, have been sold all over the world. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's an amazing community. And then, you got Facebook. So there's a lot of groups on there that we're part of. And you see all these other tracks out there. And, I start to drool when I see some of them. Some of them are just so big and, massive. You got Matt Dog Murphy. He's got Race City Speed Factory down in North Carolina. We've talked about,
it's probably the Daytona of One RC. It's where everybody wants to go.
Yeah, it's everybody wants to go to that track, but it's a very cool track. So you see all that kind of stuff and, the racing and, a lot of those tracks will actually post, their rules and things of that nature. So you get some ideas and all of that. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff on Facebook. Okay. But like my feed, when you start getting into it, that's all it is like One RC cars and racing and tips and tricks and this and that. And it's like, that's all I got now.
Yeah. And you're not kidding. I mean, my wife sometimes on the weekend, she'll be like, you have been on that phone for like 45 minutes just scrolling. And I said, yeah. And I'm not scrolling anything but One RC races because there's so much posted and there's so many good questions and there's so many posting their cars and the paint schemes and the tracks and what they come up with for their bridges. The detail to it. You can spend all day just surfing and on a race day watching everybody's posts throughout the day.
No doubt. Yeah, and that's kind of gets you excited, right? Because you can go anywhere. And that's the thing. You don't need a whole lot, right? I mean, you and I have some pretty big pit boxes. Nick has one. But you don't need to take all that stuff. You could literally throw the stuff in a suitcase and poof, off you go.
Yeah, it's truly it's not how you arrive, it's how you drive, right? Like you don't need anything fancy. It's just
I need a lot of fancy stuff because I'm not that great of a driver. But
yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of different classes out there, and I respect that because it's a great building ground for new racers all the way up to established racers. So whether there's restrictors or not restrictors or 8700 Vs or 10 Vs or midgets or whatever.
But here's the thing though, Dave, to that, right? I mean, we run the late models, and it may be considered a mod class to some, or a super, right, versus a crate, which is basically out of the box stock. But when you think about it, that basic car is $209, I think, or whatever, on 1RC's website or at your local hobby shop. To get to a super late model doesn't take that much. So, I mean, really, all those different classes and stuff, it's kind of neat to see, but also knowing that, hey, if I'm starting out in a crate, right, I don't need to go buy a new car to make it a super or a mod. For a couple extra shekels, I can make that thing. So you can start out, and there's a lot of tracks that will run that crate class in basically everything that 1RC makes, and then they'll ramp it up, and so on and so forth. So, but you can have a, high build everything, 10V motors and this and that, and maybe only spend an extra $100 on the car.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
You
Yeah,
know?
about $100.
Yeah.
And what's cool is, I mean, all us track promoters. It's not that we talk; we do see each other's stuff, but there just seems to be a real bond to say, let's just, whatever your class is going to be, it has to be 1RC. Has to have a 1RC part number. None of this one-off and building this and building that, and with the world of 3D printers and all that could get out of hand fast. And like a lot of other classes in RC, it would die off.
It would just destroy it. Yeah.
But what I didn't even realize when I got in, because just started last year, was I think this has been going around since what, 2018, 2019?
Yeah, I want to say pre-COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, and everything starts out exciting and jumps out of the box. Just, it's the greatest class ever. But usually about 2 years into it, it burns out. This isn't. This is gaining momentum.
Yeah.
It's like now they just came out with the pavement modified, and like they kept being out of stock.
Right.
And
Yeah.
trust me, we know they're not building 10 of them.
No.
They're building hundreds and hundreds of these things. I would love to get a number of how many's out there. Just
It'd be
how
cool,
many
yeah.
total drivers. I bet it would blow our minds, because
Yep.
the number's got to be greater than what I even think it is, or you even think it is, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways, let's get back to so we're going to call it above ground, right?
Yep.
That's kind of a play on words.
I
but
like it.
yeah. So here's just kind of things to look forward to. We're going to have future guests. A lot of them will be RC track owners, promoters, other racers, some special surprise guests that if I can, some of them that have already said yes, I think are a big surprise.
Yeah.
But I got big
But
eyes.
you haven't even told me about that stuff, and I can't believe you can keep that secret. from me.
That's the
I thought we were friends.
that's why it's special surprise.
Oh, I thought you said
Because
I'm
it's
special.
going to be, well, that goes without saying.
Mhm.
But,
Mhm.
and, new 1RC cars and equipment as it comes out, and just thoughts on the RC industry as a whole. I mean, this could branch out that we talk about radios and
Yeah.
batteries and chargers, and it could branch out to so many different subjects. But that's what we want to do. You and I enjoy doing this.
Yeah.
And if we can bring something to the RC community that everybody kind of wraps their arms around and goes, those guys are a couple of crazy knuckleheads. But it was a really cool subject they talked about.
Well, and I think, again, being that the 1RC, I'll call it a community, because I really believe it is. We pine for this. And again, you and I aren't the most brilliant drivers in the world. Maybe our setups might be a little off, whatever, but we've got a platform, and we're going to bring in, people that really know their stuff, in terms of car setting up, track promoting, building tracks. What are you guys using for surfaces? What are you doing for your
Absolutely.
infields and all that? So that's really cool. And then we've made some really good friends that build stuff, and it not necessarily for the cars, right? But for example, our buddy Charlie, right, from Digital Fabrication, he's making some awesome stuff for these cars. I think I've ordered a ton of. I couldn't even tell you how much money I spent. Honey, don't look at the credit card bill. But like, Charlie just comes up with this cool stuff. I mean, his setup stand, right? That's the first thing I pull out of my box every day. So we're going to talk about that. We can get Charlie on here, because he's a wheelman too. I don't know if you've seen some of his posts lately.
Love to
Like,
get
it'll be
into the
cool.
underground
Yeah.
business.
Oh, I want him at the underground, But I want to pick his brain a little bit. I want some of those
Sure.
setups because he did a clean sweep last weekend. But we want to get you listeners engaged more, right? And just we're talking with people all the time. So if we can bring them onto the show, they can provide their experience, their knowledge, right, and give you even more motivation to continue doing this. That's really what this is all about.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit down the pipe, but what we hope to do too is maybe we do in unison, either Facebook Live or YouTube Live, so we can get some questions, some live questions from
For
people,
sure.
and we'll bring those up either to the guests or things that we can talk about ourselves. We just you said it eloquently. This 1RC community, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about, and we have the opportunity to have a platform. But we'd like everybody's voice that wants to be heard, and for the listeners to be entertained. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So Ryan, I think we should, we need to kick this off in grand scale, right?
Yeah, I
So-
mean, go big or go home, right?
exactly. So we're not pulling any punches. We're going right to the top. So
Yep.
when we talk about above ground and we talk about people that we're going to talk to, I think what's really cool is to talk about big races, like the big ones that are out there, right?
Yeah, there's
And
so many big ones.
Yeah, I'm
This
super
one-
excited.
This one's the big one.
Yeah, I'm super excited because this is in the 1RC world, this is one of the crown jewels.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Right. So we're going to talk Chili Cup. Chili Cup took place in Colorado, and the man behind the mission was Shaun Lewis, and we are lucky to have Shaun on the line. Shaun, welcome to the program.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, boy, where do we start on this one, right? Like social media was blowing up on this deal from the beginning, and now what you've built this thing into. So, like, how many drivers did you actually have there this year?
This year we're down a little bit, but we had 43 drivers and 134 actual cars that are racing.
Wow, that's fantastic.
43 drivers. Did you need 500,000 square feet for all the pit stalls?
We raced in Hobby Town, so we got quite a bit of room. But I think eventually we're gonna have to figure out something. There's an upstairs there, so we might have to do some upstairs pitting as well. So
That's one heck of a car count.
Yeah, one thing that's great that I see a lot is there's a lot of this 1RC racing at hobby towns around the country. So that's really kind of a cool synergy that they realize, hey, if we provide a space, we're going to bring in people that can race. And then I'm sure they're super happy there in Colorado that you took over as a promoter, right? So you come into their space, but you actually promote it. So what goes into that?
Correct.
What goes into promoting a big event? Like, we just don't have the space to have that level of competitors come into our space.
there's a lot of work that goes into it, a lot of behind the scenes. I'll start working on next year's Chili Cup in probably July. So just trying to get sponsors involved and just promoting it and getting, awards and designs and all kinds of stuff that goes into play. I also work on full-size race car teams too, so that's always got me busy too. And so, um, and just everyday life. But there's a lot of work that goes into it. I spend a lot of time talking to other racetracks and promoters around, the United States and trying to kind of get a mutual rule setting that, so people, when they do come here or to another track, they don't have to change their cars drastically from one place to another. So,
Yeah, that's one thing that we've seen that I think is great is like, even though all the promoters can't actually physically get on like conference calls and talk it through, everybody just kind of has the same goal and like understands if we keep this consistent and people can go anywhere around the country and run these things, it's only going to keep it strong and make it stronger, right?
no, exactly. And that's what it is. And I spend a lot of time on social media and following these other tracks and other drivers and stuff. And there's a lot of people that they live in one state and they show up on Facebook and they're in another state and on a family vacation, and they took one or two cars and ended up racing at another track that they've seen on Facebook. And didn't have to change a whole lot. So that's great. So
Yeah, that there's a lot of makes it easy then, right? So
hmm
Shaun, obviously we know this is one of the pinnacle races of the year, no doubt for the one RC community. But let's talk a little bit about how this all got started for you, and what what was it about the one RC cars, and kind of your bringing it to the level of promotion that you do.
I've always wanted to promote something as far as just something to do with racing, whether it was motorsports or RC racing. And a gentleman by Terry Plummer, who I called the Godfather, he's been doing RC racing for years in the Denver metro area, all the way back into the 80s, building the RC10s that were converted piano frame sprint cars. And he had opened up a track the first year that 1RCs came out, and he rented a building on his own expense, and in hopes of getting this going. And he started with literally 3 cars, and that was the midgets when they first came out. And it started, we raced that winter, and I think we grew up to about 15 or 20 some cars. And then he had had some health issues, and he had been doing some research and talking with Justin, who owns the Hobbytown in Westminster. And I kind of took over from there and just kind of used social media to promote it, and started taking pictures of all the cars. And but what really got me on the 1RC stuff is just the realism in them. They're true to their scale as what their predecessors are. So that's really cool. And I come from a sprint car, working on sprint cars and dirt late models and stuff like that. So it was something to relate myself to as far as the car themselves, and they're affordable. So
Yeah,
that's the big thing.
right. And so being somebody who deals with actual dirt late models and like you said, sprint cars and that, you can really relate to how it isn't it kind of amazing how these cars actually respond to the kind of the same setups that you put in the big cars. Is that true to say?
A lot to say. I mean, they're not, four-wheel independent suspension like, the 10 scale stuff is. So, I mean, you can put a setup on a car and it's similar, some of the stuff you change on it is similar to what we do on the big cars. So, obviously, the late model suspension on a full-size car is a lot more technical per se, but I mean, it's the same effect. And that's what I think gets a lot of people. And I think that's why a lot of people like these cars, is because they can go to their local Saturday night racetrack and see the same cars, racing, and go buy one and paint it like their favorite driver or whatever. And it's not just your normal cup guys and stuff that they're wishing they were to be. So,
Yeah, it's neat the realism in them. I come from a asphalt background, and that's how David got me hooked. Was he showed me a dirt late model? I was like, wow, you got caster adjustments. You can do some really
yeah.
cool stuff to these cars. And the thing for me is like they respond, right. When you
Yes.
change a spring, right, when you go to a short length right rear spring, it changes the car dramatically, right. And you can put some wedge in these things, and you can scale them up. You know, check your cross weights, all that stuff. The things that you would do with a real car, you can do that. Um,
Yeah.
that's neat stuff. I just
Good.
love that part of it. So
Yeah,
so
it is really neat. And just,
yeah, and I think for a lot of like nerds like me, who I can't afford to run an asphalt late model, a super late model up here in Wisconsin. I certainly can't drive one, but I'd love to own one because I like the technical side of it. But it gives us an opportunity to kind of experience that on a much smaller scale. Um, so you've got a lot of classes that you guys run, and
mhm.
multiple. You've got the late models, right? You got a crate late model division. You've got basically your mod division. All these things. It's unbelievable to see the amount of cars out on your track. The Chili Cup, I was following that, watching all the live racing. It's unbelievable. And how you keep it all together and keep it moving was it it just blew my mind. Um,
Yeah, that part of the keeping it moving, that's my girlfriend that calls the show and runs the race program itself. And She likes to take charge of that, and she does a wonderful job keeping it going. And my daughters help, and her kids help, and on the behind the scenes of different things that go on back there. So she's the one that keeps that going, and she keeps me sane during those stressful
I
events.
can
So,
imagine.
Right, right. So you
so I'm
touched,
a perfectionist, and yeah,
yeah, no, you touched on something that we talked about a little bit prior to the show, and that's you're talking about your family and your family's involved, and that's fantastic. And for us, like that's everything at our track too is like fellowship and family and just having a good time. So tell us a little bit about your family is really involved even as racers, correct?
yeah. So I mean, obviously, I race when I have the chance to, as long as my girlfriend. I have two daughters who also race, and then my girlfriend has two sons who also race. So they've all really gotten into it, and even uh, Courtney's oldest son has got one of his friends that just came over one night to spend the night, and they hung out at the racetrack, and that's what he wants for his birthday present is
That's
the
cool.
new crate late model. So that's how we've kind of grown it from there too. But it's a family affair, and they help, like I said, behind the scenes with calling the races or turn marshaling or whatever the case may be. They all help, and then they all get a race too, and it's fun. It kind of teaches hands on of I don't know. I work in the automotive industry as it is, and we're having a hard time finding technicians anymore. So it's kind of cool to see the younger generation working on just toy cars, but kind of goes back to the same thing, working with your hands. Not everybody needs to be IT people, and we still need those trade people in the industries as well. So I try to use it kind of for a training program too. Is just there's more to things than video games basically. It's kind of a big video game, but more hands-on, and you have to fix it when you break it. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
no doubt.
great point. Great point. So, okay, Chili Cup. Obviously, you said just you get started on that in summer, planning it for the following winter. Um, but you guys race weekly, also.
so we usually race from about first part of October until March weekly, with a few weeks off due to holidays or we do have to share the area our track is with other things that go on at Hobby Town. So I think this year with Christmas, New Year's, and we only missed 4 weekends from October until the last weekend of March.
Wow.
And then we do a summer series. 2 years ago, we did it once a month, like the last Sunday of the month, and then everybody loved it. So last year we did 2 months or 2 weekends out of the month on a Sunday, and it was really took off too. So it's something that Justin and I are going to discuss on what to do, for this year's summer program. But because we've most of our racing when this first started, we're all skilled racers, and now we've grown to, they're just RC people, and they don't work on real race cars or a part of that. So this is their real race car. So they want to race every other Sunday. So that's where we're at with that. So.
Well, just promoter to promoter, that's amazing to me. And yeah, I feel like a real slacker because I run one show a month. So, I guess I got to step up my game if I'm really going to be in the A group of 1RC promoters. So, yeah, all kidding aside, that's fantastic. And everything you just said about, technicians and trying to teach the younger generation, that's super cool. I never even gave that a thought. And so that was pretty impactful statement there.
Yeah, and there was something this summer that happened last summer at Dusty Smith that runs Chieffield down in Florida. He did like a little summer camp, and it cost the parents so much, and they basically bought a 1RC car, and he taught them how to build the car, paint the bodies, and then they raced them in a week span. And I thought that was really amazing. That he did something like that. For those kids. And I think if he does it again, I think it's just going to keep evolving, and we're going to keep getting the younger generation involved in this hobby and keep it going strong.
Well, it's going to have double value because we definitely have to get him on the show and talk about that because
Yeah.
that's super cool. That's
Yeah,
a super,
that's
super
one
neat
heck of a
thing.
program, and you talk about your family, right? Being part of
Mhm.
it, kind of teaching them the hands-on, but that's time that it's so well spent, right? Just bonding with your kids and your family. So that's awesome that you do that. You know, the Chiefland there, I follow them on Facebook, of course. You know, that's an awesome track down there too. So it's just neat to see that when you can devote that much time to the entire program. I'm sure it's absolutely draining, but you know, you see the passion, right? You
And,
see it come through.
Yeah,
and
and
motivating,
that's
yeah,
what it is.
motivating
It's
at the same time. Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a passion, and everybody enjoys it. And there's times that everybody's like, "Really? Do we have to do RC stuff this weekend?" I'm like, "Well,"
What else is
so,
there to
but
do? Yeah.
Yeah, there's other things in life.
you know,
Wait a minute.
yeah, I get told, "Oh, there's a big race this weekend." I'm like, "Oh yeah,"
Yeah.
so, that's where we're at. But we're lucky where we're at. I've talked to Murph Dog and stuff, and to be honest, Murph Dog doesn't like it when Marcy comes out with a new car because it usually seems to hurt another one of his classes, and everybody sells that car and buys a new car. I'm lucky enough that when one RC comes out with a new car, everybody just goes and buys that car. We just added a whole other class, and we start. When the Asphalt Modified came out, I think we had 19 there the first night. So I was like, really, holy cow! So,
Wow.
Wow.
and nothing really dropped off. So I've ran into the problem now that we start racing at 5 on Saturdays to accommodate people that have work schedules, but sometimes we don't get out of there until 1 or 2 in the morning. So
Oh, wow.
I've tried to limit racers to, hey guys, you can only race 4 classes out of the 8 we run, and that upsets them, or just split it. Late models and modifieds run 1 week, and then sprint cars and this run another week. And so I'm still trying to work on that happy medium and still get people out of there at a decent time. So
Sure.
Yeah, that's one heck of a day for you guys, no doubt. And just the races themselves, right? I mean, if you want to run 8 divisions in one night, goodness.
Well, now I
yeah,
feel
we
guilty.
have a few races that do that.
Oy.
I
So,
bet. Yeah. So I'm feeling a little guilty here because you just worked a full day. We've had you on the phone forever. You were gracious enough to talk to us right as you literally walked in the door. So you have to be starving. Two, the family's got to be looking forward to spend some time, and you probably want to decompress a little bit because you're going to be RC racing again really quick. So we can't thank you enough for your time. Let some people know how they can, if they're not already following Colorado 1RC Racing, which I'd be super surprised if they're listening to this. I'm sure they're following you. But anyways, we want to give you some opportunity to just thank those people that help you, how people can learn more on social media, and so forth.
so I only have the Facebook page. I've looked into websites, but that's just a whole nother animal in itself. So it's just Colorado 1RC Racing on Facebook, and you can ask questions or shoot me messages in there, and I'll give you any information you guys would like. As far as thanking people, I definitely got to thank, Terry Plummer, who got this all started. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be where we're at right now. I kind of took over and just started running with it, and I'm gracious for him. Another one is Justin Mueller, who's opened up the doors from Hobbytown and let us do what we love to do. And then my girlfriend Courtney White, she calls the races. She keeps me going on all this. My daughters and her boys are amazing too on supporting me when I'm at home and on the phone constantly with this stuff or doing research. So, and then all my racers that support me, it's huge, and couldn't do it without any of them. So
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. You know, Shaun, if you're a guy like me who is really strongly considering wanting to head out there and check out the track and go burn some laps, how do we go about doing that? Could we just shoot you a message on Facebook then and at the
yeah,
Colorado
just
RC
shoot me a
Raceway?
message. The track during the winter time is usually up from Saturday until Wednesday, and then I go there Wednesday night and tear it down for the other events they got going.
Okay.
Summertime, the schedule's a little bit different of when the track to be set up. If definitely anybody comes from out of state, I'll make sure that we get it set up when they're there so they can see the famed Hobbytown Speedway, part of Colorado 1RC. So
Awesome.
we've had guys from New Jersey and that have heard about us and they've ran on our track, and guys from California that were here on business trips and brought one of their cars and were able to run on it. So anytime that if I know in a week in advance or even a few days in advance, I can make sure that track's set up there. So
That's fantastic. Well, I think a business trip's in order, Dave.
Yeah, you just motivated us.
Yeah.
If I wasn't motivated enough from what I saw on Facebook, I'm definitely motivated. Just talking to you, I mean, just what you've put into this, and now I totally get it. Right now, I totally understand why this track is as successful as it is, and it's so. So many people come out and run. You and your family obviously just put on a great show, and just on behalf of RC racers everywhere, especially one RC racers, we just want to say thank you. Right, just thank you for the motivation and the drive to do this. So we appreciate you.
We appreciate all the support and appreciate what you guys are doing to get it out there about other stuff. So it's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, again, we couldn't have picked a better person or a better discussion to open our first. This is our first night doing this segment called Above Ground, and so again, we just want to thank you for joining us. And yeah, we're gonna get out there, buddy.
Yeah,
we gotta
no doubt.
we gotta burn some laps at your
No
track.
doubt. But yeah, seriously, Shaun,
Definitely.
thank you for doing what you do and promoting the track and really the hobby so darn well. There's so much content that's coming up in social media all the time, and I appreciate it, right, as a racer, because I get to see some stuff, and you get some ideas, and again, watching some of the live racing is neat too, because you see how you see the competition out there and some of the lines you got to run on the tracks and whatnot. So it's awesome seeing all that. So for me, thank you for posting as much as you do.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
All right, have a great night. We'll talk to you soon, my friend. Take care.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Shaun.
Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Well, that's going to wrap it up for tonight. Ryan, as always, thanks for being here. You had a lot of fun, and
I appreciate you, my friend.
just some really interesting conversation. I think, I think this was one of our best shows ever.
No doubt. No doubt.
Is that you on bass?
No,
No.
it'd be a
Good.
lot more funky. But no, this is good stuff, Dave. Fantastic conversations. I love this new segment that we got going on, the Above Ground. It's going to be fun, and it's only going to get better.
You got it. You got it. So again, for Ryan and for myself, thanks for tuning in to the RC Underground Radio Show.
Thanks, everyone.
Follow us on Spotify, Facebook, and Instagram.